When I first went vegan, it was around Easter time, and I remember feeling really intimidated by the thought of not being able to eat all the delicious Easter eggs that are around at that time of year. And as silly as that sounds, I think that's actually something that puts a lot of people off, just the perceived inconvenience of it. But as time has gone on, I have realised that being vegan, being more ethical and considerate with the way you interact with the world, is not an inconvenience at all. It's not a burden. It's so simple. There are so many great options and alternatives out there now. So I thought I would share some simple vegan Easter eggs for Easter coming up. And I do have a couple of previous videos up on my channel that are quite useful for this. There's a vegan chocolates video which has got a kind of caramel in it that is absolutely delicious to put in Easter eggs. And there's also a vegan Oreo eggs recipe as well. You can check those out, I'll link them below. But for today I am making some different Easter egg recipes. Firstly, we'll make truffle eggs. For that I'm using walnuts, dates, cacao powder, coconut oil, salt, vanilla and also some things to roll them in. To start with, I'm putting 1 cup of walnuts into my blender, 3/4 of a cup of dates, 1.5 tablespoons of cacao powder, 1 tablespoon of coconut oil, 1 teaspoon of vanilla and about 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then I'm blending that up thoroughly. Once that's blended, I'm taking about a tablespoonful and rolling it around in my palm to make an egg shape, and then I'm getting some things to roll that in. I've got here some cacao powder, some chocolate hail and some beetroot powder as well, and I've also got some desiccated coconut. I just roll all the mixture into egg shaped balls and roll them into these different ingredients and put them on a plate and put them in the fridge. Next I'm making some Reese's peanut butter eggs, and for that you basically just use peanut butter, icing sugar and dark chocolate, and I'm also using some crushed peanuts to go on the outside. So I'm taking about 1/4 cup of peanut butter into a bowl, adding into that 2 tablespoons of icing sugar. Then I'm melting some dark chocolate for dipping them in. For melting the chocolate, I generally just cut up a good quality bar of dark chocolate into a glass bowl and put that over a pot with some boiling water in it and allow that to gently melt until it's about half melted, and then I take it off the heat and allow the rest of the chocolate to melt in there. And that generally works for me, but you can look up a more specific method if you want to. Then I roll my peanut butter icing mixture into little egg shapes, and I get a toothpick, stick it in one end, roll it around in the dark chocolate, and then roll the bottom of it round in my chopped peanuts, and then put it on some baking paper or a plate and put them in the fridge. And those are peanut butter eggs. Next I'm making some various different dark chocolate eggs using a mould. So the first one I'm making is coconut rough, and for that I'm using some shredded coconut, maple syrup, coconut oil or coconut cream and dark chocolate. I'm putting 1/3 cup of shredded coconut into my blender, and a tablespoon of coconut oil or a tablespoon of coconut cream, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, and then I'm blending that up. And I'm using melted dark chocolate for this as well, so the same as before. I'm taking an egg mould and pouring a little bit of dark chocolate into the egg mould and just pushing it up the sides of the mould. I put it into the fridge and allow it to set. Once I take it out of the fridge, I can fill them up with the coconut cream mixture and put chocolate over top. And once that's set in the fridge, I can pop them out, put a little bit more melted chocolate in the middle and stick the 2 halves together, and then you have your coconut rough eggs. And I like to stick a couple of little bits of shredded coconut on top as well. Next, to make fruit and nut chocolate eggs, I just have some raisins and almonds and dark chocolate, and this is really simple. I just basically cut up some almonds and raisins together, melt my dark chocolate, mix them together, and then pour the melted dark chocolate with the almonds and raisins into the mould, set it in the fridge, and when I pull it out of the fridge I can take the 2 halves out and stick them together with some melted chocolate in the middle and allow that to set. Next I'm making candy eggs, and I really like these. These are basically just using hard sugar candies and some dark chocolate, and so I'm basically just using melted dark chocolate, pouring into the egg mould and putting a bit of hard candy in the middle of it and allowing them to set. And once I pop them out of the moulds, I'm just putting a bit of melted chocolate around the edges and then putting the 2 sides together and putting a little bit more melted chocolate on top so that I can put some of the crushed candy on top of the egg. And that's simple. I really enjoy eating these. And so the last one is orange ganache chocolate eggs, and these are super tasty and easy to do as well. So you just need some orange zest, dark chocolate and coconut cream. I'm putting 1/4 cup of dark chocolate into a small saucepan, and I'm adding into that 1/4 cup of coconut cream. I'm bringing that to the simmer over low heat. I'm adding in there a teaspoon of orange zest, and then into my moulds I'm adding a little bit of orange zest before pouring in some melted dark chocolate. And once I've put that in the fridge for a few minutes, I am pouring in my ganache. Make sure not to pour too much in, and then I'm putting that back in the fridge or the freezer for a little bit before taking them back out, adding more chocolate on top, putting them back in the fridge again, and once I take them out, sticking the two halves together with some melted chocolate. And then I'm also sticking some orange zest on top with a little bit more melted chocolate. So those are the finished chocolates, and they're easy to wrap up with some foil and hide in the garden or sell or give to friends. You can make a lovely basket of them, and people will realise that vegan Easter can be delicious and easy and doesn't need to be a burden or an inconvenience or anything like that. It can be so tasty and so enjoyable. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys have a wonderful Easter.